this is my Honda Acty, and it's much worse than I thought. So if you remember in the last video, me and my buddy Harry and his dog Jeff, who honestly was the star of the show, went to Southampton docks to go and collect it. And because I was excited like Christmas, there was a lot of things I was meant to say in that video and I sort of forgot. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what it is that I've bought, why I've bought it, and we're going to have a walk around it, show you all the problem areas, what needs doing, and how bad it is. So this is what's known as a JDM Mini Truck or a Kei truck. Now Kei cars or Kei trucks are vehicles that have to meet a certain requirement to drive in certain areas in Japan, I believe. If I'm getting any of this wrong, please correct me in the comments below, but this is what I've researched. And it has to be a maximum width, a maximum length and a maximum height and a maximum engine size of 660cc, which this is. This is actually 656. Some of these are less, some of them are 2 cylinders as well. So this one in particular is a Honda. It's a Honda Acty. They also do a Suzuki one, a Mitsubishi one, a Daihatsu one, and some of them have got the engines under the passenger seat in the cab. Some of them, like this one, have got the engine in the middle under the bed in the back underneath this little panel here. So it is actually mid-engined. Now the benefit of that is obviously the engine's in the back, so you don't get the heat of the engine in the cab, and it's a lot quieter in the cab as well, which is the other reason why I've gone for this. I've also gone for it because Honda, and we know that Hondas go on forever. This is also four-wheel drive, but it's actually a very clever four-wheel drive because it's mostly rear-wheel drive, and then if the back starts to slip, it sends power to the front, but not electronically, via a transaxle. So it's actually got like a gearbox and a diff built in, almost like an LSD built into the diff, and if the back starts to slip, it sends some power to the front. So it's mostly rear-wheel drive. There is also a little bolt on the gearbox itself, which is there. If you undo that and rotate it 180 degrees, you actually stop it sending power to the front ever, so it actually makes it rear-wheel drive. But unless you wanted to go and do some skids with it on the skid pan, maybe we'll do that in another video, I don't know. So it's basically the size of a Caterham, but the layout and the setup of like an Audi R8, because it's rear-wheel drive, sends power to the front when it needs to, and it's mid-engined. I'll be honest, it's probably the closest I'm ever going to get to an R8 anyway. Okay. Now this one is actually an SDX model, which means top of the range. I don't know what options there really are on these, other than this one has got air conditioning and it seems to kick in, and the compressor kicks in and it seems to work. It's blowing cold air, but it is about 2 degrees over here in the UK at the moment, so that's not saying much. It's also 5-speed, some of these are 4-speed. This is a 3-cylinder, I think they're all 3-cylinder. Apparently some of the earlier ones are 2 cylinders. I don't think you can get a 4-cylinder. You might be able to in the other flavours, maybe the Daihatsu one does. They also do other versions of these. They do an Attack one, which I think is only a 4-speed and has got locking diffs and a high and low box, so that is really, really for off-roading. They also do one that's called a Crawler, which is actually 6-wheel drive, and it's got tracks on the back, like a half-track, which looks absolutely mad. Once I've put a few reels and things on my TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, etc., a lot of the questions I've got is where can I get one, because I thought about getting one of these for ages and I want to get one. The link on the screen to my buddy Harry, he imports these, he gets a few of these a year. If you want one, get in contact with him, he'll do you a good price. This is actually like an off the docks price, so it's slightly cheaper. I've got to register it, MOT it and clean it up. I believe he takes most of them back to his place, cleans them all up. You'll have to speak to him whether he's going to MOT it and register it for you, because that's a little bit of hassle, but it's not too bad. The other question is, can I have a ride in it? Can I come and have a sit in it? The answer is yes. When I get this on the road, I've had so much interest in it and everyone just loves it because it is arguably pretty cute. It is a little bit rubbish, but everyone wants to be a part of it. So I am going to organise some sort of meet somewhere where people can come and sit in it. Maybe I'll take them for a drive in it, I don't know yet, but at the moment I just want to get it cleaned up, get it serviced up and get it on the road. So far already, even just towing it on the trailer back from Southampton, I've had so much interest in it. Loads of people taking pictures of it. We stopped at the garage, loads of people walking around it, and just parked up at the farm. My family, my friends, my cousins, people that come to the farm are just like walking around it laughing, which is exactly what I wanted. Every time I see it, it's like I'm seeing it for the first time. It's hilarious, honestly, I love it. Right, now let's have a walk around it, see how bad it is. Right, the first thing we noticed from the last video is that this battery, which is tiny, that's the case for it by the way, or the cover for it, we've just taken that off to get to it. The battery was dead. This terminal was actually completely loose. We thought that's all it was, but actually I've had a C-Tech charger running on that for a couple of days and like a recondition thing, and it doesn't seem to be getting going. It looks like that's the level of the fluid in there, and it says upper and lower, so that may be also part of the problem. The next problem I also spotted is this is not an expansion tank but a header tank or an overflow tank, and it is completely empty. If I take it off, oh, it's kind of coming off itself. There's a little bit of what looks like brown coffee in the bottom, and it stinks. So that was my first worry. Then I googled how do you get to a radiator in one of these, and it's actually under the dash, under here. So you pop this cap off and then undo that, and underneath there is a radiator cap, and I took the radiator cap off and it was actually full of water. So it's not empty of water at least, but the header tank definitely should have some water in. Oh, listen to that, and the squeak. Definitely get a bit of GT85 on there or something. Next up, I went to go and check the oil, which is randomly in the left hand side wheel well. Unscrew this is all metal because obviously it's going to get stone chips and stuff. Pull the dipstick out. Now that's interesting, I pulled that out the other day and it was dry. I've just pulled it out today and it's half full. So somebody half filled it with oil when I haven't been looking? I don't really know. That's a bit strange. That was literally bone dry when I pulled it out the other day. Who knows? I knew it wasn't completely dry with oil because when I climb under the back, it's leaking oil from there, or further above it. So I don't really know where that oil was coming from. I had lots of comments about the bed and how rusty it was, and it is a bit marked up, but where it's kind of not scratched, if you just rub that, it's literally white underneath. So it's just where the rust has like bled. So once I kind of jet wash this and give it a bit of a clean up, most of that will come off. Then at some point we're going to give that a spray and clean that up and get that all looking nice, either with a bed liner or a bit of Raptor, or get a bed liner like you do from Japan. I'm not sure yet. Here's the fuel, because there was literally no fuel in it at all. There's like a little pull. Oh, it smells like proper old school. I don't think they have ethanol? Methane? No, not methane, ethanol, whatever it is that they add to the fuel in the UK. So that probably smells like old school lawnmower petrol in there. One of the things that we're most happy with, obviously once you put a jump pack on it and it did start, it had clutch, it drove, it was fine. Brakes are really stabby. Oh my gosh. But everything seems to work, including all the lights, indicators and everything else. It hasn't got a rev counter, but at least we have got a bit of fuel in there now. Also the temperature gauge hardly comes up. We left it sitting ticking over at the docks for ages and the temperature gauge hardly moved, and then as soon as I put the fan on to blow hot, what little temperature was there just dropped off straight away. So I think the thermostat is stuck wide open, so I'm gonna have to change that as well. Something else I discovered on here as well is down here, it's like a little push pull lever, and apparently that's just a fresh air vent to the outside. You end up getting a cold knee, but I don't know, it absolutely reeks in here, so I've left it open and the windows open. Harry also said that sometimes they're a bit rotten around here, but this all looks totally good. And under the mats as well, we were expecting to find some like big holes, but it all looks pretty good. Also, if I get the key, which is literally a key, like an old school front door key, and click the auxiliaries on, there is a stereo which has only got one speaker. Apparently they only do a speaker on the passenger side, there isn't one under here. I have no idea why. It's also AM only, and I could just about get a load of nothing. The other thing that's a slight concern is that when you get these from Japan, they literally come with no paperwork. I think just the import sheet that's got a few mileage bits on it and where it was exported from, what port it went from and to, and that's pretty much it. So the only thing I've got to go by is this sticker on the door, which didn't really make sense to me because it looks like 26th of June and 28th of June. However, I sent a copy of it to my good buddy Sir David, who's a bit of a Japanese translator for me, and he said because the Japanese calendar is totally different. I think the top one is a coolant change in 2014 and the bottom one is an oil and brake fluid change in 2016. Now this truck has only done 41,000 kilometers, which is about 26,000 miles, so based on miles it probably doesn't need doing. but based on age, it definitely does. The one that's more worrying is normally in a door shut down here, or on the other side, or on the cam belt case itself is a sticker, again all in Japanese, but it's like a really obvious like big white sticker. I've got some stickers here, but that's to do with the payload and the colour of the car and that sort of stuff. When it has a cam belt change, they put a sticker there. Now I can't find a sticker anywhere, so either it's fallen off, or what's more likely, it's still on its original cam belt. Which again, mileage wise it probably doesn't need doing, but age wise it definitely does. So I'm now reluctant to start it or drive it anywhere until I get a cam belt kit and a kit to give it a full service, oil, water, coolant flush, all that sort of stuff before I go anywhere in it. Something else I'm not too sure about is if I put the ignition on and come around this side, I've got a clicking and I can hear some gurgling. I'm going to assume that's a fuel pump, but I don't really know. Something that is good on this is that the glove box works. Now apparently these like snap off, but this one works perfectly, and there's a load of like Japanese paperwork and some Japanese snicker wrappers, which I think is really cool. Oh, broken it already. I've literally broken it. You couldn't make it up. You take the oh well, that's that broken. There, I've fixed it to a fashion. Right, don't breathe near it. The other thing that's kind of cool is this seat lifts up, and then underneath you got your washer bottle, jack, and a load of dust, and a Japanese bakery wrapper, which is cool. Little pocket in there, and obviously you can put like a toolbox and some stuff in here, because that's what it is made for. Is a working truck. Someone's put a cup holder in it because there isn't a cup holder. It's also got this little cigarette lighter, which has seen a fair bit of use. There we go. And these seats aren't great, but they're kind of slightly vinyl-y, so I think they'll clean up pretty well. And hopefully the rest of it is just a good clean up service, bit of paint, and she's good to go. So the next step is to try and get all the parts that I need. There's a few companies now that are doing parts for these, but I found that different companies are not doing all the parts. You can get a couple of bits from here, a couple of bits from there. But I've contacted a company called Tagiwa, however you pronounce it, Tegawa, and they have done Japanese parts in the UK for a long time. In the last year or so, they've done bits for these, so I'm waiting to hear back from them. I think I might be able to get everything from them, which will be cam belt kit and a water pump, because you've got to get the cam belt off to do the water pump, so you may as well do that as well. And then there'll be a coolant flush, and then oil filter, air filter, cabin filter, goodness only knows what that looks like. I think that's under the driver's seat. You've got to take the driver's seat out for that. Obviously oil, drive belts, auxiliary belts, air conditioner belt. The original plan was to get it road legal, basically fit a fog light, and I think that's all I need to do, and then take it for an MOT. But obviously I don't want to be driving it around if it's got no oil and no water in it, and it's got an old cam belt that could snap at any point. So the plan is give it a full service, cam belt, everything, then get it road legal, then take it for an MOT, and then register it. So I don't think it's going to be on the road for a little while. The tyres also look like they're in really good condition. Loads of tread on them. I think they're like 2019 or something I saw on there somewhere. And they're for Toyos as well. Apparently you can't buy cheap Chinese tyres in Japan. They only fit decent tyres. So they're all the same tyres. They're all Toyos all round, and they're all 2019. They're also tiny as well. What size are they? 145. 12, a 12-inch wheel. Looks like there is a bit of filler in the windscreen, corner of the windows there and the other side, which looks like someone's had a bit of a repair, but a few years ago, so that's starting to crack. So we'll probably dig all that out and then reseal it and paint it. Looks like someone's not very well masked it up, so we're going to make a better job of that. Again, this is all stuff that I'm going to do further down the road. The main job at the moment is get it mechanically happy and get it on the road, and then we can look at cleaning all the other bits up later on. Something else that I'm going to do is get underneath and sort the chassis out. Now there's areas of this that looks like here, that have been undersealed from factory, or someone's had to go undersealing them. But all this, what I want to do is give it a good tidy up, treat it with some sort of products, treat the rust to stop it spreading, and then do a full kind of zinc primer underseal job on it. So that'd be something else for another day. There's your gearbox switch, look. you make it 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive. These sides actually completely slide off as well, so you can turn it into an actual flatbed with no sides on it at all. While we're here, let's just have a look at that top of the engine. Oh, these aren't very tight. 14mm. Fun fact, you won't find a 13mm on a Japanese car. It'll only be 12 or 14. If it looks like a 13, it's a 12 or 14, because apparently it's unlucky. I'll say they weren't very tight, but it's only like a rubber seal anyway. Right, am I going to get in here one-handed? Oh, there we go. Oh, I'll be honest, that doesn't look too bad. I've seen some of them that are absolutely minging. I think that's your carb on top. That's your plugs. 3-cylinder, bit of leaking around there. Don't know, doesn't look too bad. Alternator, doesn't look too bad. Yeah, I'll be honest, doesn't look too bad. Whatever that is, I think it's weeping a bit over there. I don't know if that's a breather or something, but there's another one there. Who knows? But yeah, happy with that. Doesn't look too bad at all. What we got here? Yeah, I'll make sure I do that. The first port of call is to have a bit of a tidy up in here and make some room. The Civic's not going anywhere. That's my Spuds over there. They're all wrapped up to stop them getting cold. Fun fact, if you don't wrap them up and they drop below 5 degrees, the starch turns to sugar, and then when you fry them, they go black and they burn. So that's why they're wrapped up, because it's about 2 degrees. And then over here, we're going to have a bit of a tidy up. So I'm going to get rid of these tyres, move this freezer, and then this green bin, I'm going to move that way. And then ideally the truck's going to go down the side, and then it can stay there. Because once I jack it up, take the wheel off, start doing the cam belt, I'm not going to be able to do that in a day, and if I do it in the middle of the floor here, it's just going to be in the way and jam the works up. So the idea is that that's going to be the spot for it. I've got sockets and stuff already on the wall, and then once we have a tidy up and have a shifty around, that's just going to be its new home till it gets on the road. So there you go, that's the story so far. If you've got any other comments or questions about the truck or what's going to happen or anything, leave it in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. I'll see you on the next one. Shut up. Oh.